Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to be explaining to you why it is important to listen to our children. Every conversation can be an opportunity to deepen conversations, build trust, and learn something new about somebody. So, I have a very important question for you all. How many of you have been around someone who has autism, or you know someone personally who has autism or ADHD? I'm going to list appropriate ways to interact with a child who has autism and or ADHD in the classroom and explain how they think differently than other children. I will begin my speech by defining what child psychology and child development are. Child psychology is the study of subconscious and conscious childhood development. Child psychologists observe a child who interacts with their parents, themselves, and the world around them to understand their mental development. Child development is the physical, cognitive, emotional, social growth that occurs through a child's life. As Wiley Online Library states, children of depressed mothers are at risk for behavioral problems and development issues, along with children. Children between the ages of 1 and 18 are also at risk for behavioral problems and developmental issues. Children go through stages of development and pick up different kinds of thinking skills at each age and stage. There are connections that go through the brain cells called neural pathways. I think I said that right. Listening to your child will strengthen your bond. And whether you're a parent or an educator, like myself, by actively listening to your child, it will show them that what they are saying to you is important to that what they are saying to you is important to you, which will build your child's confidence and give them the confidence to meet new people, make new friends, and it will develop their trust in their future teachers and other children. I'm now going to give you some examples, some real life examples of things I saw in my student teaching class last semester. So, for example, I was placed at Ackerd Elementary in a kindergarten class with 21 students. That's a lot of kindergartners to deal with at one time. But I wouldn't have traded it for the world. It was great. And there was a boy in there that had autism and another boy in there that had ADHD. You couldn't tell that either of them had ADHD or autism just by looking at them. Just by first glance, you couldn't tell. It was crazy how normal they looked. A child psychologist did come into the classroom once or twice a week, and she would observe both boys, but she mostly observed the one that had autism more closely. She stood in the back of the classroom, you know, away from all the other kids just to not distract them. And she observed him in small groups in a time when he got very upset, which is a very important time to observe a child, especially with autism. And she also observed when they were in pull out, because in pull out sometimes, which is their elective class, if you don't know what pull out is, sometimes that would be when he would act up most. That would be like in PE or in the library. That would be when he would act up the most. Both boys had very severe anger issues. The boy that had autism, he could not process being told no, or if he made a mistake, he could not process it at all very well. He would scream and he would cry, and sometimes he would even try and run away and run out of the classroom, and we would have to run down the hallway and chase after him. And that can be very dangerous, especially in the school I was in, because it's kind of out in the country and it's right next to a busy road. And then the boy that had ADHD, he could not process being told no as well. And when he would not get his way or be told no, for example, no, you can't go to the bathroom right now, or no, you can't get the Play-Doh out, he would also fall on the floor and scream and cry. And sometimes he would throw things at us. Sometimes he would try and break things. Sometimes he would rip his paper. We'd have to get him a new one. Um, it was very eye-opening to me to see and to witness those things in the classroom because I had never seen it before. Um, so there's that. And then by the end of the semester, I grew very close to both boys. Besides the bad days, they were both very sweet boys, and it made me realize how differently they both think and analyze things than other normal children do. Because, for somebody that has autism and ADHD, everything is heightened, everything is more intense to them. So just imagine being a kindergartner in a class and not getting your way, or just dropping your food, for example. That was the end of the world for them if they didn't get their way. And as stated by the CDC, examples of ways to help ADHD and autism in the class are behavioral management classes. There's always special education services available in most schools, and organizational training is also available. Next, I will describe the behaviors they showed in the classroom and ways that we help them get through their day. Um, According to Teach for America, ways to help the boys would be to avoid sensory overload. So, for example, not to give them too much work at one time. That would be sensory overload because they would know they would not be able to complete it all, or they may make more mistakes than other children. Many unexpected things can be distracting to them. One way we helped the boys was we created something called a calm down corner. And the best way for me to describe it, if you've never seen one, and without me physically having it here with me, is um, it was over in the corner of the classroom, and we put all kinds of soft plushy toys over there. We put like a little squishy mat down for them to sit on, and they would go over there when they would get upset and choose a card that we placed up there. For example, one could say, "Give your cuddly friend a hug," or "Take 5 deep breaths," and they would do that, and by the time they finished that, they would be calm and ready to come back to class and do their work. Another technique we had was we created both boys their own individual schedule. So, for example, the boy that had autism, he got his own schedule, and it said where we went throughout the whole day and what time. And say, for example, we were at lunch, and if he cried or screamed or ran out of the cafeteria, we would write a sad red smiley face on it because he knew that is not the way he's supposed to act. And then if he was good, we would write a green smiley face. And if he got all green smiley faces on his entire schedule, he would get a reward at the end of the day. So that is something we did, and we saw tremendous improvement with both boys because if they had all green smiley faces and got their reward, then they knew that they were good through the day and they had a good day, and it just made them so happy. Um, Today, I explained why it is important to listen well to our children. I began my speech by defining child psychology and child development and what they are. I used real life examples that I gained through my student teaching experience. And lastly, I described the behaviors that the boys showed and 2 ways that we helped them in the classroom and have good days. Um, please, please remember to listen to your children and pay attention to their emotions and their feelings. It is very important as parents and as educators to listen to your children because they look up to us for guidance and suggestions and encouragement and support. Um, and whether you're a parent or a future educator, as I said, sometimes you're all that these children have. And me being a future educator, that made me realize that, some of these kids have not the best home lives, and they'll come into school, and I know that I need to be the best teacher that I can be. So please take the time to stop what you're doing today and sit down with your child, ask them how they're feeling, and listen to them. Because if you don't, it may not end well, and we don't want nothing happening. And like I said, please take the time to listen to your children, because we are all they have in this world. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed my speech.